you know, Daisy was, and I wanted to kind of tell you about Daisy. If you guys find and I actually was talking to Craig on Sunday about he sent me the YouTube of when Daisy was first bought here, and uh, yes, that's right, Jenny. That's exactly who it was. And unfortunately, I couldn't talk to Craig too much because I was on the phone with my brother. We're talking about houses because you guys know I'm trying to find another house. Um, but I was trying to. Hi, Asha. Hi, this girl. Hello, Asha girl. Um, so I was looking at the video, and I was trying to trim it, but I'm not real good at like editing YouTube videos, and it wasn't really letting me do much other than a minute, and I wanted to show like the whole 20-25 minutes that were there when Jackie announced and then bought Daisy out to show you. But the thing that I wanted to point out is Megan's all over in that video, so this was like 2015, 2016. So, and Megan was here for that. So, um, I know that, yeah, Stacy, at some point, I'm actually going to be moving to North Jersey.
No. Sorry. That's an automatic.
I'm actually going out there next weekend to start looking at some houses. Is it too? Okay, I knew it was 2015, 2016. I'm sorry, Craig, that I didn't get back to you. But I was trying to edit that video and I could not figure it out. Yes, Sidewinder, Union County is where I'm targeting. Um, so um, so what my first memory of Daisy was, I think she came here, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was close to Catstock. And when I flew in here for Catstock, here's Jackie, with this doggy who's, um, little thin, very neglected, has scars on the legs. And Jackie says, "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you walk him around for a little bit?" And it's like asking a kid for a lollipop, or do you want a lollipop? Of course I'm going to say yes. So I ended up like walking that doggy everywhere. And he was such a sweet dog. Daisy was such a sweet dog. He was so gentle with all of the other cats and the dogs. Um, yes, Bedhead's dad, you were in the video as well. As I recognized you. Now, of course, it was 7 years ago, so we were all a little bit younger, a little bit more hair, but he was just a wonderful, wonderful dog. And, um, you know, I don't know if you guys saw it, and I'm going to see if I can, I might have to post the video and tell you to go to the 50-minute mark, or I think it starts at 50, minute 50. But Daisy had a very rough life before he came to FFRC. Daisy was neglected. Daisy was chained, and I think he was chained to a bumper of a car. I think that's what it was. And you could see the scars on Daisy's leg where the chain wrapped around her leg. She was thin, and and it wasn't a good fit. And I think it was somebody called Jackie and asked if you could save this doggy. I think the original thing was the person who called Jackie was going to see if she could take him, but her husband said no. So he ended up being here, and Craig, and you see Daisy, Solly, and Pippi's dad, Craig, adopted him and his family adopted. And just such a sweet, sweet dog. And we're sad that he has passed, or she has passed. But there's a life before and after the neglect, and she lived her final few years, 7 years, I guess, just spoiled in a house with two FFRC kitties, and it's a wonderful thing. And we're gonna read Chucky Says Goodbye as a tribute to that wonderful doggie, who we did see at Catstock the next year. And that doggie, put on some weight, looked really healthy, looked really happy, totally different dog. And this is what it's all about. Even with the kitties here, it's all about living their life that would have. I don't know. It's a white doggie. Craig will probably answer that, Anna. So we're going to read Chucky Says Goodbye. And we read this a couple of weeks ago. This book is dedicated to Chucky's sister, Nestle. Thank you to everyone who helped make this book possible, especially all of Chucky's fans. Thank you to my husband, Roger, for being an amazing dad to our fur children. Thank you to all my friends and family for all your love and support. Thank you to Cynthia for inspiring me to write this story. And a very special thank you and lots of love goes to my collaborators, Anna Zahakowitz and Amy Keller, for helping me create such a special book with me. Hello, my name is Chucky. I am a chocolate lab. My best friend was my sister, the best I ever had. Nestle was my sidekick. We tussled all the time. We went on walks, went swimming too. We loved to jump and climb. When someone was outside our house, I'd bark to let her know, and she would run right over to watch the people go. Oh, she was calm and gentle. With Bert, she played so well. I learned a lot from watching her. What stories she could tell. I remember how she teased me when I did something bad. She liked to rub it in my face if I made Daddy mad. Hello, Cat B. One day I noticed Nestle was struggling up the stairs. Her legs were getting weaker. She'd fall if we weren't there. Sometimes Nestle made mistakes. I knew it made her sad. But Mom and Dad would clean it up. It didn't make them mad. Mom and Dad and Bert and I all love their girl so much. We think of ways to cheer her up with hugs and treats and such. She had some trouble eating, so our parents helped her out. She got so much attention that sometimes I would pout. Daddy called a meeting. We all sat by our bed. Mom and Dad and Bert and I gathered round and said how much she meant to all of us, of all the things we felt. Our love for her just filled the room. We hugged her as we knelt. Mom and Dad told all our friends to come and say goodbye. Hi, M. Preston. Appreciate that. Mom and Dad told all our friends to come and say goodbye. She was so glad to see them. though sometimes they would cry. Hello, Norma. People bought us cakes and snacks, and some drew pictures too. Love was all around our home. It seemed each day it grew. Grieving makes us all tired, so we all took extra naps. Some days we just forgot to eat. Thank goodness for all the snacks. All too soon the day had come for us to say goodbye. We spent the day with Nestle, but the moments seemed to fly. Sometimes there's no words. I think you can certainly understand this picture. I feel so sad. I'm not myself. I don't know what to be, how to be. All I know is that right now is that my friend's not here with me. Thank you, Norma. Mom and Dad knew I was sad and took me to the park. I went swimming in the creek. I played till almost dark. When I turned back from swimming, a butterfly was there. It landed right on Daddy's hand. It landed right next on Daddy's hand. It landed on his hair. Its presence made us happy. 'Twas such a nice surprise. Like Nestle came to visit, then took off to the skies. May our memories be a blessing, although we are apart. We won't forget the ones we love. We'll keep them in our heart. And then we have a picture. Thank you, Nestle, for being a very good girl. Nestle Jensen, September 14th, 2004 to June 19th, 2018. So here's the pictures of Nestle. And there's some more pictures. Up there's Chucky. So from what I see, there's a whole series of books about Chucky. They also have a whole bunch of memorial page for all their furry friends. Lots of them. So this was a Kickstarter book, and I saw it on Kickstarter, and I actually put some money up because I wanted the book so I could read it to you guys. And I'm going to tell you again, all of these children's books that I have gotten from Kickstarter have been wonderful. Every single one of them. Thank you, Jabberwocky's mom. I know it's hard, and I know how it feels. Thank you, Sidewinder. We're going to continue Basil's quest, and I just kind of want to remind you a couple things that's happened so far. Basil was found for at least the 5th time wandering around the neighborhood. The last time, one of the girls who does foster work found Basil and called them up and said, basically said, we found your dog again. And they basically said, well, I don't know. I forget exactly what they said, but basically Basil was in harm's way. And so they said, well, why don't you just give him up if you're, so they agreed to surrender the doggy. Now, this dog was ignored, neglected, didn't get enough to eat, so it was thin, and at one time had a good life with a mommy and a girl, but the problem was they moved in with the husband who didn't like dogs, kept the dog outside on a chain. Sounds a little familiar, huh? So think of Daisy when we go through this book, because Daisy's story wasn't that much different from Basil. Alright. Sometimes, right when I'm about to fall asleep, I have a recurring memory. Victor, it's Trish. Listen, I really hate to ask this, but I need a favor. It's not really for me, it's for Marina. My landlord won't let me keep Basil, and Marina will be heartbroken if we have to give him up. She's gotten so attached to him. Will you please take Basil? Then at least we can be at the house. We could be at the house when Marina visits on weekends. Trish waits for his reply. Yes, I know I should have checked with my landlord before getting a dog, but I didn't. And now I'm asking you for help. Trish is silent again, and she looks like she's about to cry. Yes, Victor, I know you already have 2 dogs. But Basil is really easy, and he won't be much trouble at all. And I'm sure he'll get along very well with Ninja and Jet. And as you guys know, Basil doesn't get along with the dogs because the other dogs bully Basil. And the other 2 dogs have food aggression and doesn't let Basil eat. So Basil is in a really bad situation, and the only thing going was a little girl named Marina. All right. Other than that, he was neglected. She pulls the phone away from her ear. I hear Victor yelling. His voice scares me. I automatically turn my ears back, closer to my head. Victor, I'm not asking you to do this for me. It's for Marina. You know how much she loves Basil. When she plays with him, she forgets how sad she is and how guilty she feels about our separation. I don't hear Victor's reply, but Trish says a bit impatiently, I don't know why she feels guilty. Maybe she thinks the separation was her fault. Look, if you won't take him, then I'll have to bring him back to the shelter. Marina will never see him again, and she'll never forgive me. Please, Victor, please don't break Marina's heart. Trish muffles the phone as she softly sobs. I want to comfort her, but I'm not sure how. I move closer to Trish and she rests a hand on my back. Yes, I understand you're busy. I appreciate that. But if I can't bring Basil over now, I will get evicted. Hello, Vince. Please, it won't take long. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Trish drives me to Victor's house. It is a blustery winter day. Only the pine and cedar trees are green. The wind whips some leaves around, but Trish keeps the car window rolled down enough so I can stick my head out. My ears flop around wildly in the wind. My nostrils are teeming with scents of deep grass from last night's rain that waft in the cold breeze. She pulls up to Victor's, leaves the car engine running, and with my leash in hand, we quickly walk up to the big white 2-story house. 2 large scruffy dogs bark and come running up to the chain link fence at the end of the driveway. They snarl loudly when they see me. I do my best to show them I'm not a threat by dropping my tail down and not looking them in the eyes. They sense my fear. I pull on my leash to get Trish to go back to the car, but that only makes her shorten the lead and pull me in closer. Trish knocks on the big wooden front door. We wait. She glances at her watch and then knocks again, this time louder. When Victor doesn't answer, we go around to the side of the wraparound porch, and Trish looks through the windows. The mean dogs are rowdy as they jump up and rattle the chain link fence. We walk back to the front, and she pulls out her phone and calls Victor, but hangs up when he doesn't answer. Trish mutters something. She looks at her watch a second time. Now she pounds on the door. Victor finally opens it. He's a large man who towers over Trish. He makes me nervous, or maybe I'm just sensing how Trish feels. The fur on my neck bristles. Trish and Victor don't speak for very long. Neither of them want to chit-chat. Their conversation is businesslike. I look up and see tears in Trish's eyes as she hands my leash to Victor. She turns away without saying goodbye to me. Victor pulls on my leash and takes me inside. The house smells like it hasn't had the windows open in a long time. He leads me to the rear of the house, removes my leash, and points, "Go outside. Dogs are for work, not for pets. You belong in the yard. Now go!" He slams the door shut behind me, and I feel very, very sad. Leanne's gentle touch strokes my back. "Wake up, Basil. I think you're having a very bad dream." "It's okay, pup." I let out a sigh of relief. I jump off the bed and give my body a good shake. It helps me return to this moment. Leanne puts on her bathrobe and slippers, and we all trudge outside. Nashville can get pretty hot and humid, and dogs need to stay out of the sun. It's early morning, and even though the sun's still low in the sky, I can already feel that it's going to be a very hot and sticky day. I start at the far corner of the yard, walking along the path that's been worn next to the chain link fence. Tantalizing dog scents linger from the day before. For a dog, taking in these scents is like reading the news. Our nose has over 100 million sensory receptors. When I take in another dog's scent, I find out what they like to eat and what kind of mood they're in. Plus, dogs can sniff in stereo. One of my nostrils identifies a smell, and the other nostril tells me where it's coming from. I bet humans wish they could do that. I go potty, as humans like to say, then head back to Leanne. Dooley comes running up to me, acting like he wants to play. I'm not sure what to do. My instinct is to bow down with my front legs, then take off running around the yard. It works! Dooley and I take turns chasing each other, running around and around the whole yard until we are completely worn out. Leanne has a big grin on her face. "Come on, y'all," she yells as she waves her arm. "Time to eat." The kibble in my bowl is so delicious, and I don't have to scarf it down. I actually feel full after licking my bowl clean. What a wonderful new sensation in my belly. You know what? And think of this, and think of Daisy. All right? All of the old things that Basil was thinking about, the dreams of the bad dreams of being neglected in that awful house, by being tied outside to a tree. You know, a lot of doggies out there are like that. You know, so it's like a genie granting me 3 wishes. I feel safe because I no longer live with Victor's mean, scary dogs. I slept on Leanne's comfy bed all night long, and all of those stabbing hunger pains have disappeared. Jolie walks through the front door, flipping on the ceiling lights to brighten things up for the new dogs arriving for check-in. I run up to greet her. "Basil, my love, did you have a good night?" she asks while squatting down and rubbing my back. "How did he do, Leanne?" "Oh, he was great. Don't tell Hannah, but I confess that I let him sleep on the bed with me and Dooley. I didn't have the heart to put him in a room all by himself. I think Dooley senses that Basil needs a little extra loving, so he was willing to share the bed. It was so cute. Dooley curled right next up against him. I took a picture with my phone. See?" Julie smiles. "Oh, that is so sweet." Hannah arrives with the big white poodle. "So, Leanne, how did Basil do last night?" "Oh, Hannah, he's such a sweetie. I am so glad you're fostering him. I brought Chelsea to work with me so that I could test his temperament today. Did he get a good night's sleep?" "Well, most definitely." Jolie stands behind Hannah and winks at Leanne. "Yeah, let's see how he checks out." Hannah takes Chelsea and me down the hall to the inside yard. Hannah stands back and watches how I respond to Chelsea. Chelsea is beautiful and self-confident. She's what they call an alpha female, the type that likes to be in charge. I admire her confidence. I let her sniff me first, and then I sniff her. Hannah watches patiently. I bow to Chelsea to let her know I want to play. Chelsea doesn't want to play. Okay, Maybe she's not an early riser like I am. At this point, Hannah calls to her and puts her back in her crate in the office. Hannah returns and stands leaning over me. I immediately sense that I am being put through a test, so I hold still. I trust that Hannah knows what she's doing, and I don't feel afraid or challenged like a lot of dogs would with someone leaning over them. She firmly grabs my front legs. She grabbed my front leg near the top of it. She stays in that position for a few moments. Then she surprises me by kneeling down and giving me a hug. I put my head on her shoulder. Hugs feel good. Next, she gently moves my front legs forward, placing me from sitting into a down position. I get all excited and stand up when Hannah puts her hand in her pocket and pulls out some treats. She puts them in on the ground and walks around me while I eat them. Then, as I am eating, she steps between me and the treats. I guess she wants to see if I'm going to growl. Hey, Hannah, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I look up to her, at her, waiting for permission to finish claiming my reward. Good boy, Basil. You are going to make some lucky person an excellent companion. As we walk back down the hall, I see Jolie and Leanne peeking through the little glass window in the door that leads back to the reception area. They are both smiling. Hannah says, we're in luck. He has a great disposition and passed with flying colors. We shouldn't have any problem placing him in a new home. And I believe he'll do quite well in daycare, too. Jolie and Leanne clap and cheer. Yay, Basil! Next chapter. Hannah's Haven opens at 7:30 a.m. Hold on for 1 second. Just want to make sure it's nothing. Oh. Oh, okay. Thanks, Craig.
Guys, I'm heading out.
This is what, and I've seen this, Craig, in other other vets where, I guess this is when they lit the candle when Daisy went to the Rainbow Bridge. It's a wonderful thing. Have a good night.
Good night, Billy.
Hello. Hensley's leaning on my leg. Hannah's Haven opens at 7 a.m. Most dogs arrive between 7:30 and 8:30 each day. I discovered that lots of dog owners don't like leaving their dogs at home all alone all day while they're at work. So they bring them to doggy daycare to hang out with other dogs and play and get attention. The building is like a big warehouse. It has concrete floors, great big windows that go up against the ceiling, and metal fencing on stands that can be moved around to create smaller areas as the need arises. There are 2 additional rooms for dogs, separate from the main area. One of the rooms is for small dogs only. The other is for dogs that need quieter surroundings, away from the hustle and bustle of the main indoor yard. On the far end, the main playground also has a large garage door that opens up to a huge outside yard. On days when the weather is hot, the garage door stays open so dogs can go back and forth as they wish. The yard outside has a grassy area and another area that's covered in gravel. On one end is a large shaded concrete porch. On very hot days, the big fluffy dogs lounge on the cool concrete of the covered porch. The big lounge on the cool concrete of the covered porch. And on those days, Hannah usually brings out a plastic pool and fills it up with water. It is great fun to splash around. There's one special spot at the far end of the yard that is my happy place. It's a big pink plastic playhouse shaped like a castle. When I'm worn out from playing, or if I'm simply not in the mood to play, I jump up to the flat part of the castle roof to nap in the sun. there's only room for one dog. And when I'm up there, all the other dogs leave me alone. So there's a little picture of. That is Basil's happy place. We spend the day going back and forth between the indoor playground and the yard. Sometimes all the big dogs are outside while all the little dogs stay inside. Or it could be that the little dogs are in the yard and the big dogs are outside or inside. Or maybe one of the special groups of dogs is in the yard. Hannah makes sure that we have lots of changes in our environment during the day so we don't get bored. Doggies that are bought to doggy daycare get way more attention and have a lot more fun than if they sleep at home the whole time their human is at work. And besides, dogs need exercise. At Hannah's, dogs get tired out during the day, so when the humans pick them up, they can enjoy a more relaxing evening together. It seems to be a very popular lifestyle for dogs and their owners, and I'm grateful that I get to experience this. On my second day at Hannah's Haven, Hannah chooses to use me as her demonstration dog during class that night. In front of the whole class, Hannah says, what we are going to do is give our dogs a clear signal of what we expect, and when they show they understand, we will use a clicker and immediately provide them with a treat. We'll be giving them lots of positive reinforcements, so don't be afraid of giving too many treats. There are 4 dogs with their humans. The humans pay attention, but the dogs are all nervous because they want to sniff each other's butts, and their humans won't let them. Bad humans. I'm going to use Basil here to demonstrate. I've never worked with him before, so he's the perfect dog to use as an example. If I clearly communicate my expectation to him and reinforce his positive behavior, then it's only a matter of practicing with him until he consistently responds on cue. So watch. Basil, sit. I don't sit. She gently pushes my rear down while pulling up on the leash. I sit. She immediately uses her clicker, which gets my attention. And she says, good boy. And I get a treat. We do that over and over. On the 3rd try, I get it perfectly. Hannah says, now, I know he understands what I want from him. We'll repeat what he learned with positive reinforcement. Sit, click, treat. Sit, click, treat. Everyone's watching me. Good boy! I love being the demonstration dog. Before this, I didn't feel like Hannah and I had bonded. But now I sense her love and acceptance. Jolie shows up for work the next morning, and Hannah greets her enthusiastically. I used Basil as a demonstration dog last night, and he was great. He was so smart. I wish you could have seen him in class. I could not have used a more perfect dog as an example. Needless to say, I'm super impressed. Jolie smiles. Wow, that is so great. I told you he was awesome. Jolie pours herself a cup of coffee, and we go into Hannah's office. So, Hannah, how long have you been training dogs? And how did you learn? When I was 12, my mom had cancer. When she went to the hospital for surgery, my dad brought home a poodle for me from a rescue organization. He told me that I was going to own a dog, that if I was going to own a dog, I needed to read books and learn how to train it. So that's what I did. My dad knew it would give me something positive to focus on while my mom was sick. If they're getting really good at training, my parents let me take in foster dogs, and I trained them too. I figured it would give them an advantage for getting adopted. I saved up all of my babysitting money to pay for their kibble and toys. I soon discovered fostering can be an expensive proposition, but the money isn't the hardest part. The hardest part is finding a good match of a forever home, no matter how long it takes, because each dog is unique, and so is each human. A dog that's been fostered has the bonus of someone getting to know them really well. So when a potential new owner comes along, the foster can tell them all about the dog's personality from first-hand experience. Jolie and Hannah enjoy their early morning time together, talking about how dogs thrive when they're in the right environment. It gives me hope. I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to stretch my legs, and then we're going to get back to Basil's quest. Hi guys. Hello, Marilyn. Hey, the girlie. Oh, look at the little spiker. Oh, the little spiker. Looks like all the mom and babies are in bed. Hi. You're not coming out. You're not coming out. Where are your babies? I don't see them. I did see them before. Huh. I don't know. I don't know. Give me one more minute. Hensley! Hi, Hensley! Oh, magic salad. All right. All right. Hello, Jory. All right, we're going to get right back into it. I easily settle into my own routine. After being fed each morning by the night care person, I'm the only dog allowed to hang out behind the front counter while dogs are being dropped off for the day. On one particular day, a couple brings in an English bulldog named Hosmer. Hosmer has never been boarded before, and they're anxious about leaving him in someone else's care while they go on vacation. Spiker and Ramsey are doing good. Matter of fact, Spiker is in, it looks like the Dr. Seuss, the little Dr. Seuss thing where with the thing all going all the way up. It almost looks like a Native American teepee. And Ramsey's out sleeping outside, and he's doing real well as well. Okay. Hosmer has never been boarded before, and they're anxious about leaving him in someone else's care while they go on vacation. They quiz Hannah with questions like, how long does it usually take for dogs to adjust to boarding? Will you be sure to let him sleep in an open space since he doesn't like crates? And could you please send us a picture so we could see how he's doing? They bring with them more of Hosmer's needs. A bed, a blanket, big red rubber Kong, a rope to play tug-of-war with, a stuffed animal that squeaks, his kibble, and lots of treats. How wonderful it must be to have owners who love you so much that they are worried about leaving you in someone else's care for a week. Hannah reassures them. When they're finally ready to leave, Jolie walks them to the door and says, feel free to call us as often as you like. if you want to know how he's doing. And don't forget, you can watch the doggy cam on our website. She holds the door open for them as they leave. Hannah turns to Jolie and says, I tested Hosmer's temperament last week. I think he'll do just fine. But it might be best if we start him off in his own area. Oh, somebody's here. Is that you, Hensley? You going to go in there? Oh, Hensley. Jolie escorts Hosmer to the interior part of the building and puts him in his own pen, where he can still see the other dogs. Leanne takes over the front desk. Hannah and I head to the back. Hannah suggests putting me in with Hosmer to see how he'll do. Yippee! I get to be the trainer dog again. I love it. When I enter the pen, Hosmer doesn't want to have anything to do with me. He moves to the far end and turns his head away from me, acting like I'm not even there. Well, that's cool. I know how it feels to be here for the first time. I'm just going to hang out over here. You take your time figuring things out. If you feel like playing, just let me know. No rush. It can get pretty loud in this place. Every new dog that enters adds to the circus. Dogs pair off and run around together. There's lots of playful barking, and it bounces off the hard floor, large windows, and high ceiling. Some dogs jump up and down and rattle the fence. If you're not used to it, it can feel pretty scary. 20 minutes pass, and Hosmer turns and faces me. When he sees that I am not threatening, he walks towards me, wagging his tail. This is a good sign. A very good sign. Still, I don't want to spook him, so I stay put and let him approach me. Sure enough, he bows and wants to play with me. It's the coolest thing ever. I never made a friend before, but I always knew I could do it. I look over at Hannah. She and Jolie are smiling. I hear Hannah tell Jolie, Basil has a real talent for making new arrivals feel safe. Do you see how wonderful this dog is? You can hear the temperament in him, but he was in such a bad situation. So this is why it's called Basil's Quest. So that's Basil. Doesn't really look like Daisy, other than, maybe a lab, but very similar stories. All right, next chapter. If I had to guess, I'd say that on any given weekday, there are around 30 dogs at Hannah's Haven. There are usually a few dogs staying over on any given night. I've gotten pretty good at predicting which regulars show up on which days. There's Ida Mae, a beagle. Her mom, Katrina, is an attorney. And even though Ida Mae doesn't get along with the other dogs, Katrina still drops her off on her way to the office every day. Ida Mae's bed is put next to the couch and in the corner of the den. She only gets up when an employee goes in to pet her or to take her out of the yard for a change of scenery. Yep. Katrina knows this, but she figures it's better than leaving Ida Mae alone all day at home, especially because she sometimes works late. Remington is a mixed breed with a thick, long white coat and patches of black on his back. Remington has something Hannah calls fence aggression issues. He can't be in a pen that's connected to other pens, or he'll spend the entire day running up and down the fence line while barking at the dogs on the other side. So, like I said, he goes in a special area. There are two other dogs that he plays really well with. A boxer named Bingo and a yellow lab named Princess Buttercup. At least one of them shows up every day. Then there's Lulabelle. She's a beautiful short red coat. She's only 2, that's a teenager in dog years, and she has non-stop energy. Lulabelle has a thing for sneaking up behind Jolie in the yard, then jumping up and nipping at her elbow. I don't like it when Jolie gets nipped by an overly excited dog who can't control herself. Hannah walks with Lulabelle to correct her behavior, but she's not the best student. I have no idea how Lulabelle passed her temperament test. What I do know is that dogs with major problems are not allowed to come back. Oh, you're welcome, Ms. M. Thank you. There's Delta, a border collie. Delta is what we call a tripod because she only has 3 legs. Her dad is a photographer for the city newspaper. He often works long hours. If he gets an assignment and can't pick up Delta before closing time, he calls Hannah and Delta spends the night. My favorite dog here is Ringo, a brown and white American Pit Bull Terrier. He belongs to Jolie, and she brings him to work with her on Fridays. I perk up when Jolie walks in with Ringo. He's gentle and kind, and he wouldn't hurt a flea. Well, okay, maybe a flea. I love playing with him because he never gets mean or out of control. We're pals. Speaking of pals, here's my buddy Derecho. Jory, I either, when I started reading this, a lot of these were my wife's children's books because she was a school teacher. But I've actually have purchased a whole bunch of books just for story time. And the 2 books that I'm reading today, both of them were on Kickstarter. And like I said, every book that I purchased on Kickstarter, and it's about 10 books now, 10 children's books. They've been all wonderful, absolute wonderful books. So, I also wanted to mention one more thing. This week, or it might have been last week, was the 2-year anniversary of Storytime. I think 2 years ago we actually started it at 9 o'clock, which got... Oh, awesome, Jory's dad. Awesome. So we used to read them at 9 o'clock. It was a little late for me, and I know we moved it up, and now we started at 7:30. So, all right. So we're not going to finish this book today, but that's okay. We'll probably finish it next week. But it's a really heartwarming story, as you can hear. Hannah is quick to notice I get along with everyone. She observes that I'm able to remain calm, even when dogs around me are stressed out. So I often end up spending the day with the difficult dogs because it puts them at ease. I think I developed this talent from living at Victor's house. His dogs, Jet and Ninja, were always trying to stir up trouble. They were so insecure that they bullied me to make themselves feel stronger. That's what bullies do. They try to break you down. It makes them feel superior. I learned to make myself invisible. I stayed out of their way, hoping they would ignore me. When I felt afraid, like during storms, I had to act all courageous, or they would use my vulnerability as the perfect opportunity to pick on me. When Hannah pairs me up with difficult dogs, I remind myself that you just never know what they're dealing with at home. Maybe there's a new baby in the house and the family pet has been demoted to second place, at least in the pet's eyes. Everyone oohs and ahs over the newborn, and poor Lulabelle, for example, feels left out. Then she arrives at doggy daycare. Maybe her unruly behavior helps her get some of the attention she craves. Or maybe Delta's owner has a new girlfriend, which means he's not at home that much. Delta feels lonely, so she sulks the first hour after arriving at doggy daycare. And being around all the energetic dogs only makes her feel like she doesn't fit in. If Remington is cranky and wants to be left alone, maybe it's because it thundered the night before and all the noise rattled his nerves and kept him from getting enough sleep. Hi! Those are just some examples of why I try to never take things personally. Gosh, if I did, I would never be happy because I would always be thinking about the drama around me. I guess we all face difficulties in life. I've had my share of challenges, and I'm just starting to see how they may have helped to find me in a good way. Today, I'm feeling very sad. Sure, I made lots of friends while I'm in foster care, but I'm sad because every dog who comes to Hannah's Haven, whether for a day or longer, always goes home with someone who loves them. Their owners smile when they see their pups. They're always wagging tails and treats and lots of hugs. Don't get me wrong, I'm not ungrateful that Hannah is fostering me. I just yearn for a place to call home. I go to sleep every night wishing for a happily ever after life. I would love to bring joy to someone special. I often wonder why during the 6 weeks that Hannah's been fostering me, no one has even wanted to meet me. The more I think about being homeless, the sadder I get. I decide that if someone special isn't looking for me, then I will be proactive. I will see if I can find them myself. During yard time, Leanne is talking on her cell phone and not paying much attention to what's going on around her. I start digging under the fence. I'm a most excellent digger. I dig a hole that's just big enough to crawl through. I slink down low and crawl my way under the fence, coming out the other side. And here's a picture of that bad doggy digging the hole. No one is out there to see my great escape. And I walk down the street in hopes of finding my next owner. I look over my shoulder for a quick second and see my friend Snow, a sweet white German shepherd. She follows me under the fence, even though I signal her not to. When she gets to the other side, she panics and sits down in the driveway. I'm only halfway up the block when I hear Leanne calling me. I love Leanne so much, I can't just ignore her because then she would get in trouble, maybe even lose her job, and I don't want that. I turn toward the sound of her voice, stop walking, and let her catch up to me. Basil, where are you going? You scared the living daylights out of me by leaving like that. Let's get you back inside. Snow is already inside. Leanne and the other employee had to lock up to go after us. They were both pretty shaken by the whole ordeal. Leanne tells Hannah later how Snow and I escaped. Hannah responds, well, I was afraid something like this would happen. Poor guy. He's been here so long, I think he needs more stimulation. I'll take him home tonight. A change of scenery would help. Hannah and her husband Colin and their daughter Ivy live on many acres of land about 20 minutes from downtown Nashville. We arrived just as the sun sets. Looking out the back window of Hannah's minivan, I catch a glimpse of pink light shining through the trees along the edge of the property. The stone driveway is long and lined on each side with beautiful sugar maple leaves. How many cats are here now? If it's the total ground, it's probably close to 70, Jory. Like that counts the COVID cats, the cats, the COVID cats, and the porch cats that are outside. So inside here, I don't know, maybe 40. That's counting the mom and the babies. So I'm not really great at estimating counts. The driveway ends at a garage with 3 big doors. Hannah pushes a button on her phone, and up goes the garage door to let us in. Before we were even out of the car, Colin and Ivy quickly walked towards the car, excited to meet us. Excited to greet us. 5-year-old Ivy jumps up and down in the garage. Yay! Basil's here! Colin greets Hannah with a kiss. Then he comes over me and lets me sniff his hand. Hey there, Basil. Welcome to Casa de Caldwell. It's not as fancy as Hannah's Haven, but I'm sure you're going to like it here. Handing Hannah my leash, Hannah says, Sweetheart, would you mind putting Basil with Chelsea? And Luca would probably like him, so let's put the 3 of them together. I'll start dinner. Colin and Ivy lead me into the house. It's been a long time since I've been seeing the inside of one. Hannah was right. I did need a change of scenery. I feel better already. I sleep in a crate next to Chelsea. On the other side of me is Ivy's dog, Luca. Hannah has 4 poodles in all. Luca is the only toy poodle. The other 3 are standard poodles, the largest of the breed. Little Luca is the color of champagne. The others are white. Luca is the oldest of the poodles, and he's deaf and blind. They must all feel really safe because none of them seems to mind me being in their home. I can't help but wonder if Hannah's dogs know how good they have it living here. Saturday morning, right after breakfast, Colin announces, "I'll be in the garden if anyone's looking for me. It's been days since I pulled weeds and I want to stay on top of things." Since I'm allowed to roam freely here, I follow Colin to keep him company. On the way into the vegetable crops, we pass a chicken coop with 6 chickens. In the distance, there's a large red barn and 3 horses grazing in the wide open green pasture. Colin meticulously scans the rich brown dirt for weeds. I like watching Colin. He's focused on what he's doing. See this, Basil? I pull the weeds up by the roots so they can't grow back. The warm sun was beating down on my coat. It is comforting. The warm sun beating down on my coat is comforting. Something draws my attention to the barn, and I get up to explore. Colin notices me waiting and looking back at him for approval. It's like he read my mind when he says, "That's okay, Basil, sniff around. There are a lot of interesting scents here. Much different than the ones you're used to." I walk past the horses, and as I do, a beautiful mare with dark chestnut brown hair looks at me. She nods her head while her thick, bushy tail whisks the flies off of her back. I made it to the barn, and just as my nose suspects, there's something living here. It's a huge gray cat, startled by my appearance. She raises up her back and hisses at me like she thinks she is fierce. "Okay, kitty, no need to be afraid. I get it. I'll leave you alone." I run all the way back to Colin, who is still working on the weeds. In the afternoon, Ivy's friend comes over and they have a pretend tea party out in the screened-in porch. Ivy says to me, "We need to dress you properly for tea." She wraps a fluffy scarf around my neck. It's purple and frilly, something I'm sure a poodle would wear to a tea party. I love watching Ivy and her friend at play. They make up stories and giggle a lot, happy in their pretend world. It makes me think of Marina, and I'm sad. I wonder how she's doing right at this moment. There's still a big place in my heart for her. Ivy announces, "Welcome to my tea party. Today we're having tea and crumpets." She pours me a pretend cup of tea and says, "Here's a crumpet for you, Basil." Yum! I don't know what a crumpet is, but it sure tastes like a dog biscuit. I think we're going to end that here, and we will continue next week. And again, we're all thinking about Daisy today, Craig, and we thank you for the life that you've given Daisy. You're welcome. You're welcome, Craig. Daisy was a very special dog, and Daisy got to live the life that she deserved to live. So thank you, Craig, for giving Daisy that life. She was a very special dog. So thanks again, everybody. Everybody have a great day. I am going to be on the road this weekend. I don't think my mother is online, but she's turning 80 this weekend. So me and my brothers are all going to get together, and she is very paranoid. She doesn't like anybody telling her about her age. So we're just going to have a little low-key dinner at my brother's house. You know, my youngest brother lives right near Hershey. So I'll be driving the 8 hours there. So thanks again, everybody. And please think of Daisy today. Hello, Rachel. Hi, buddy. How's the big D? Hi, buddy. You know, if you ever come to FFRC, you need to make sure you talk to Derecha, because he loves when people talk to him, and he will talk right back. Right, bud? Right, buddy? Yeah. He's a good boy.